What's up, y'all? It's your boy Niner Faithful. How's everybody doing? Hope everyone is having a legendary week. We have with us today, doing our 2020 season review, my boy Jason, Facebook manager of Niner Faithful Radio Facebook page, as well as the host of Good, so the host of Niner Faithful Radio's halftime show, as well
I'll do that one.
as Jamie, host of Good Morning Niner Empire. She does Good Morning Niner Empire, not Jason. And as well as Niner Faithful Radio pregame. We're gonna go ahead and jump right in. Let me see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so we got team MVP. I'm gonna go ahead first, and I'm pretty sure all three of us are gonna have the same answer right here. I think the team MVP this year is clearly Fred Warner. I mean, the man.
Yeah.
It was. I dare say that obviously we miss Nick Bosa, but Fred Warner didn't make us miss Nick Bosa. I believe that we're all, and we'll get in our thoughts of the season later, but I'm pretty sure we can all agree the defense wasn't the problem this year. Our defense was a playoff caliber defense. It was clearly the offense, and I think one of the biggest reasons that the defense didn't slip off, especially when you consider Richard Sherman only played in 2 games. It was almost funny because the one player that you thought was going to be injury prone actually ended up playing all the games healthy, which was Jason Verrett. But Jamie, your team MVP.
I put Fred Warner too. He was one of the most consistent players this year, I think. He has been for a while. And he's just really good. It was hard. I was thinking about it. I was trying to think, and I feel like he's the obvious answer. There's probably some other ways you can go through, but I felt like he was the obvious pick. He's so good. He won 2 of the team awards, and he was just really solid this whole year, like usual. So, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Jason?
I actually broke mine down into offense and defense. Obviously, defense, Fred, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
He's just the man right now, and probably should be all pro at this point.
Oh, yeah.
The offense, I actually put Juice. And the reason why I put Juice on there is because he played all 16 games. And think about the running game. How many starting running backs did we have who were still busting their butt, still chewing yards, and guess who was in front of them all the time, blocking every play, all 16 games? Juice. And I know he's a free agent this year. We'll get into that later, different show, whatnot. But like I said, to me personally, the offense, we went as far as we did to be a playoff team, 2 weeks left, because of Juice.
Yeah.
Whereas,
I agree with that, Jason. I like that point because I feel that, Juice is one of those players that if you talk to your typical Niner fan, you're run of the mill, I watch the highlights on ESPN. Niner fan, you'll be like, whatever, this fullback dude. But when you actually watch the game and understand how much of our offense really goes through Juice, if you polled Niner fans, obviously George Kittle, most important player on offense. But I feel that Juice is one of those players that if, I was discussing with Jamie in a personal call that we had. And, I told her, I said, I was sure. I was like, Juice is coming back. Juice is. And after watching that interview and seeing how emotional, I'm not so sure. And I think all those people who shall remain nameless on a certain podcast network that shall remain nameless, all those people who always albatross and why is he the highest paid running back? We're going to miss him next year. I think that if Juice is not here next year, it's definitely going to be a case of you don't know what you have until it's gone. That is great. We also had a category for offensive and defensive player of the year. I mean, defensive player, we all know is Fred Warner. Offensive player of the year, I put Trent Williams because I feel that I agree as I agree with Jason's view on Juice, and your best ability is availability, especially in this season. We all know that should be the team's mantra. We shouldn't have faithful then, faithful now. It should be your best ability is availability. Straight up. And so, to me, I was very confident in Trent Williams, but you didn't know. It wasn't a
Yeah.
surefire thing. And, we all know, look, my personal profile picture on Facebook, Niner Faithful Radio's Facebook picture profile is, the number 74 retirement, picture and everything like that. Because, look, Joe Staley is the greatest offensive tackle, to play for the team. But we got better at left tackle this year. And I think that a man who didn't play all 16 games, but that wasn't health related. Look, if it wasn't a pandemic, Trent Williams is playing all 16 games. And if the last game of the year was for the playoffs, Trent Williams is playing in that game. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's pretty secure, different show like Jason said, but I think we all agree that Trent's going to be back. But I think in an off season full of uncertainty, mm-hmm. knowing that we have probably the third most important position on a football team, we got that locked down with the probably arguably the best. It's regardless of, this is how I feel about Trent Williams. Regardless of how you feel about Jimmy, which we'll get into later, mm-hmm. we're going to need a left tackle to block whatever quarterback is back there. And I feel secure in having number 71 there. Jamie, your offensive and defensive player of the year?
So my defensive player, Fred Warner. That was the easy one. He's just really good. Offensive player of the year was a hard one. I was thinking about it. I wanted
it was.
I thought about Trent Williams. I was thinking about Juice. I feel like if Debo was healthy the whole season, he would have definitely probably been a really big candidate to win it. But I'm actually going to give it to Brandon Ayuk just for his really, really good rookie season. We haven't had haven't had a player, a wide receiver who's come in and looked this good in a while, I feel like, who's been like this, like right out the get-go looking pretty solid and could be like a real good player. And he's just been good. Him and Debo together next season, I'm super excited to see what they can do. As long as they both stay healthy. I'm super excited for it. So I just picked Ayuk because I don't know. I just was really happy with his season this year. So
Brandon Ayuk, I was skeptical. I trust in Lynchahan. I trust.
We all were.
And so ADH, but as Jamie has stated, it's been a while since it's so funny with coming from the history of this franchise, when I would say arguably the greatest players to play for the franchise are quarterback and wide receiver. Since Joe, Steve, and Jerry and T.O. left, those are two positions that we've kind of struggled at.
Yeah.
And Jamie, you might not remember, but me and Jason are gonna remember the day of Robert Woods was gonna come in, JJ Jokes, JJ Stokes was gonna be the next Jerry Rice.
Oh man,
who was the one we ended up trading to Kansas City? Oh God, who I forget who it was, but yeah, we could go on and on about the list of joke wide receivers that this team has drafted over the years. But AJ Jenkins, there you go. My boy just said it. AJ Jenkins, there you go. There you go.
I tried to block that name out of my mind.
Yeah, thanks. Exactly. That's why I forgot about it.
PTSD
oh God.
He was the guy that we drafted in the first round that never really played, right? Like
yeah.
He plays. I think is what it was, something like that.
Yeah, I think I know he played the preseason. I believe he got in a few games his second year, and then he was gone.
Dante Pettis is Jerry Rice compared to AJ Jenkins.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how bad it is.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
At least
it is.
At least Dante gave you some hope. Look.
Yeah.
We'll save that for a little bit later, but I do want to get into Dante Pettis because I do believe that was kind of a big storyline of a kind of hush, quiet storyline because it's kind of forgotten, but that actually is a great point that you bring that up. But look, when you can have somebody challenge Jerry Rice's franchise record for yards by a rookie wide receiver in 12 games, that tells you something.
Yeah.
So great points. We're gonna go ahead and we'll do a comeback player of the year. I think
Okay.
we're all gonna agree with this. I got Jason Verrett. I
That's
mean,
what I put.
I tip my cap to the man. I mean, I really don't. Is there really anybody else on the roster that really is deserving? Probably
No.
not. I mean,
No.
maybe if you dug deep, you could find somebody.
If we had Alex Smith still on the roster, he'd probably be the only player that
Yeah,
would be
of course, of course.
comparable.
That's
But
the only
that's a
person
different
in the
story.
Look,
league that's even worth. I mean, Alex Smith is far and beyond the comeback player for the league.
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
Vernett's not even in the same
actually,
stratosphere as Smith is right now.
Yeah.
you know, compared,
Yeah.
I'd actually dare say this, and we won't go too deep down this rabbit hole, but I would fully support them renaming the comeback player of the year the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year award.
There's been
I
talk of it.
honestly, honestly, you know, I've been
I can
fairly
see it.
critical of
It's
Alex.
Did
Look,
you guys watch that documentary?
I
Because
did
that
not. I did
injury
not.
was so bad.
Oh,
Oh
man, I
my
did.
god.
Damn thing they ever made me cry. I mean, we all knew how bad it was, but until they broke it down, I was like,
Yeah.
the man was practically dead.
You know,
Yeah.
I was just discussing with a girl I'm talking to today, and I
Mhm.
said, you know, it's gotten to the point where, of course, Jamie, you might not remember, you were 3 years old, but Jason will remember, and I will remember when Jerry tore his knee, and there were plenty of people talking about how Jerry wasn't going to ever play a snap, let alone come back to the form that we
Yeah,
come
back
to
then they
expect
didn't
of
even
Jerry
know if
Rice.
if you could walk normal again,
Yeah,
it was considered a success.
exactly. And
Dang.
to now come to the medical advancements we come that people almost brush off at ACL. Like people are very whatever, we'll get him next year. Like, you know, like we were all in our feelings week 2. Of course,
It's not even a year
I actually
anymore.
told
It's like 8 to 9 months depending on the player.
Exactly. And I believe didn't Adrian Peterson come back the same season? He tore his ACL
because he tore it early preseason. Came back.
I think it was in the
last
preseason or something.
He was not. I mean, but
yeah,
he's a freak. He's a freak of nature.
And when you have Alex Smith, not only like let's be real, we all love football, everything like that. We know what we risk, but when you almost die playing this game,
Yeah.
you know, nobody would have blamed Alex Smith if he would have, hey, you know what, I've made my money, you know, da 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 da. But to come back and not only come back, but to start, and not only but to come back and start, but to come back and start and play well, and you know, drag Kansas City the way he plays off. Look, I'm a anybody but the Yams and Shecox type of man. But if Alex Smith went to win the Super Bowl, obviously I'll have mixed feelings because we all know that championship should have been won here. But nobody's going to be mad at Alex. You know, I will gladly applaud and say congratulations to him if he wins a championship this year. We're proud of it. Jamie, Jason, y'all's comeback player of the year?
Brett.
There's really nobody.
Like, what?
Exactly.
Next year, we have
you're gonna say him coming back.
Next year it's the whole show by itself for comeback player of the year. So, but this year it's just Fournette. You know, he's 2 years. He's been sitting on the sideline, busting his ass. Finally, everything came together this year.
He comes back, plays well, and does his thing, and stays healthy the whole season for the most part.
The only game he missed was, I believe, because of the illness, which, let's be real, he probably plays in that game if it wasn't for COVID. Like, in COVID, you know, a COVID world, you're not playing football if you're sick. But in any other season, Jason Verrett plays against the Cry Girls. You know, and I think Jamie brought up the key of what makes Jason Verrett the comeback player of the year is it's one thing to come back and, you know, you're, you know, a third string player and maybe get in some special team snap. But Jason Verrett Jason Verrett made us not miss Richard Sherman. Let's be real.
Yeah.
The reason we weren't screaming, the reason that Sherman probably missed most of the year was because I'm not going to say he wasn't needed because he's Richard Sherman, but he wasn't missed. If you would have told me that Richard Sherman would have missed as much time as he did, and the Niners' pass defense didn't collapse, I would have told you you're crazy. What do you mean, Richard Sherman? What do you mean we're starting Dante Johnson and Brian Allen at corner? We all know the Brian Allen experiment didn't turn out too well, but what do you mean we're missing Sherman and the pass defense hasn't fallen apart? Well, that's because of Jason Verrett, and we'll get into it here in a second. But for defensive player of the year, I actually considered his pick against the Yams and at Levi's. I feel that to me, if we would have made the playoffs this year, that to me would have been one of the plays that would have been pointed out to me, where you could say, okay, because that's what it felt like. Jimmy came back, we had Debo back, and here's Jason Verrett making a pick in the end zone, and we're beating the Yams, and then we go into New England, and I think that play obviously doesn't mean as much, considering how the rest of the season turned out. But Jason Verrett play, I think is very underrated, and I do believe he'll give us a little hometown discount. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go into Rookie of the Year. I believe probably only two players that you can mention this, but I went with Brandon Ayuk. I mean, list the reasons as Jamie stated below. I mean, I'm excited, and I would dare say I haven't been this excited about a receiver combo since the days of. I'm not comparing them to this, but I haven't been this excited about a receiver combo since T.O. and Jerry.
Yeah, Debo,
maybe Anquan Bolden and Michael Crabtree. That might be more realistic. Jason, your Rookie of the Year.
Kinlaw. I went Kinlaw more than Ayuk, simply because Kinlaw had to deal with the pressure of replacing Buck.
Yes.
He took a lot of heat, especially the first 3 or 4 games. Because he hadn't found his way yet. Still a young guy, still making his way in the NFL, but once he finally found it, he turned it on. And obviously, he's not going to replace Buck, but he's making that a lot easier, especially because like next year we'll get a couple of the rotation guys back in the rotation we're missing this year. And once we get the rotation back, then I think we'll start seeing him get even better, because he's going to have a little bit of rest here and there and be able to go full steam more often, because he's going to get that rest and play off here and there to catch the breath. So
exactly.
But with Ayuk,
very good point.
You can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah, of course. And let's be real, they're probably the only two that anybody would really consider. I mean, I can't even just off the. You're not gonna do McKivitz, But exactly. Hey Kim, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. Kim said hi, everybody. But I think to get into just real quick into the Kinlaw situation is, I think Kinlaw was the most hurt by Bosa, because when you have to go in and you have to imagine what the Niners were envisioning when they made the decision to trade DeForest Buckner. And I remember the day it happened, a friend of mine came up to me, he goes, "What do you think?" And I said, "Does this make the 2020 San Francisco 49ers a better football team?" No, it doesn't. We are a worse football team without DeForest Buckner and inserting Javon Kinlaw. But that's okay. I said, does it make the San Francisco 49ers a better team from 2021 and beyond? Probably. Not necessarily that Kinlaw is going to end up placing DeForest Buckner's production. DeForest Buckner is just, you don't have people who are 6'7" that are that nimble, that fast, that athletic. That just doesn't happen. But because you're able to have Javon Kinlaw on that rookie deal and not paying him the 19, 20 million, 18 million that you were going to have to pay to DeForest Buckner, now we can give Fred Warner a $15 million a year contract. Now we can re-sign Debo when he comes up to contract. Now we can give George Kittle the extension. Now we can sign Jason Verrett. Now we can bring back Juice. These are decisions that had to be made. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people make the mistake of saying it was Javon Kinlaw, it was Eric Armstead, or DeForest Buckner. No. Obviously, the team knows that DeForest Buckner is the better player. It was, well, do we keep Eric Armstead and Jimmy Ward and possibly bring back Jason Verrett and Ronnie Blair and all these other players that it was like, yeah, okay, let's make the decision. Jamie, your rookie of the year?
I'm gonna stick with Ayuk. I just really liked his season, like I said before. Even though I will give a shout out to Kinlaw, I thought Kinlaw got really better as the season went on, and I think if Bosa had stayed healthy and everything, he might have even had a better season and stuff. And if the defensive line in general didn't get hit as bad as it did by injuries, he probably would have done even better. But
exactly.
Both of them, I think, turned out really good. So, like, you really can't go wrong with either one of them. I really we were all spectacle of trading up to get Ayuk, but I really think we did a good thing by getting Kinlaw at that pick by just trading back that one spot and then being able to get back up and to get Ayuk. I think now it makes a lot more sense because I know we're all like, what are we doing? Okay. And just kind of just like, okay, let's just go see what happens.
Well, I think what Brandon Ayuk will always be to compare to, just like Alex Smith will always be. People like to say things as, oh, it's easy. We made the mistake. We drafted Alex Smith over Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, but you know what? If Alex Smith sits 2 years behind Brett Favre and, Aaron Rodgers has to go into the dumpster fire that was the Mike Nolan, coaching staff. Exactly.
We could say the same thing about what Patrick Mahomes is doing right now if he didn't sit behind Alex Smith when he was drafted. I was thinking about that because everybody's like, we could have drafted Mahomes back in 2017. And I'm like, yeah. And honestly, he probably would have been better than what we got in that year, but he might not be the player that he is because he didn't get to sit behind Alex and learn the offense for a year and not have that pressure to start. So
Steve Young has quietly admitted, I don't think he'll ever come out and admit it because of the situation, but he talked a lot. He's talked a lot about how sitting behind Joe, changed his career. Yeah. I don't think Steve Young's a Hall of Fame quarterback without sitting behind Joe. And the fuel that gave him.
He was
I think with
started Tampa Bay.
Exactly, he was. I think also what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk is because at 13, essentially all the receivers were there, and so a lot of people CeeDee Lamb, I believe CeeDee Lamb was gone, but no, CeeDee was there. CeeDee, Jefferson,
yeah, he was.
It was Ruggs that was taken.
Ruggs was taken, and I think Judy was taken by Broncos.
No, Judy was after us.
Yeah.
So it was because of all the receivers. Oh, okay. Yeah. So it was because of all the receivers that were there. Mm-hmm. And so I think that.
And I think Ayuk has done pretty well. I mean, what's his face? Jefferson up in Minnesota is obviously had the best rookie season out of all the.
He's also had his starting quarterback his whole year.
That's true.
Think about that. He's also had his starting quarterback the whole year. We all watched Nick Mullins play this year, right? So you can't tell me we've seen it. How many times did we see Brandon Ayuk that you would have said, damn, if you would have hit him? And Jimmy, the touchdown, I want to say it was against the Seahawks, where he let him out of bounds, and you're like, if Jimmy hits him in stride and doesn't leave him out of bounds, that's a walk-in touchdown.
Yeah.
Those things matter. So I'm not saying that, Jefferson or Judy or whoever is not a better receiver than Ayuk, but I do say that, look, having your starting quarterback, for that's a big deal. That's a huge deal.
Even if it is just Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, even if it is just Kirk Cousins, that's fine. But I think we can all agree that Kirk Cousins is better than Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard.
It's a low bar you're setting, but yes.
Yeah, very low bar. Yeah. Very low bar we're setting, but so
at the very least, they have the timing together. I think that's what
exactly.
They know how to play with each other.
That's what hurts the most is when they don't get playing time together and they don't get in that rhythm and just learning how each other plays and all that stuff.
Yeah,
that's
Debo talked about it.
Biggest blow.
Debo talked about breaking his foot, how he simply was never able to get the rhythm of being in the season. And when he said, look, I could probably count on one hand, maybe two. He basically said, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 hounds, how many practices he had this season. Think about it. Yeah. Debo hasn't really consistently practiced since the Super Bowl. I mean, there was at a point in time where Debo Samuels had not practiced this season since the Super Bowl. You know, and so chemistry, things like that matter. And so, yeah, exactly. So we're going to go ahead and do offensive play of the year. I love this. I'm going to call it, as I call him, Jumpman. I mean, Brandon Ayuk's hurdle against the Eagles. That was one of the moments of the season that I really think missing the faithful in Levi's was really felt. Because I know how that stadium would have gone because I was around people who would have been at that stadium going psycho once we see that. I mean, I would dare say that's one of the dopest touchdowns I've ever seen. Maybe not so much as far as meeting, but as far as the actual play itself. I mean, that's when I started to say, hey, this Ayuk kid, he's got a little something special. Like, that's not normal.
That was just coming out play.
All NFL players are great athletes.
Look at me.
Yeah. That was his hey, what's up moment. Jamie, your offensive play of the year?
Okay, my offensive play of the year would be the 4th down conversion in the Rams game to Kittle. And I think it was the first Rams game. That was just a very classic Kittle touchdown. It's just a really solid, really good play. And I just remember because when they were going to go for it, I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, he's going to go to Kittle. You know, it's going to probably go to Kittle. Like, who else is he going to throw to? And it still worked. And it was good. And Kittle just did Kittle things and just got in the end zone.
Yeah, that was most definitely. I think that, look, that obviously it didn't end the way we wanted to. You know, 3-3 isn't as great as 4-2 and everything like that. But look, I think we're in the Yams' heads. I really do. Don't think that
or Shanahan has McVay's number. It's one of the two.
Why not both?
Yeah, I think it's. Look, I don't remember which podcast host it was. I'm sorry, but somebody said, look, I think with McFleur or McVay and LaFleur down in Green Bay, these Shanahan disciples, he's in their heads.
Yeah,
he's in their heads. He runs circles around them, and I do believe that Saleh had McVay's number.
Yeah,
because it was, and we'll get into the Saleh and DC possible replacements. That's an off-season show, but Jason, your offensive play of the year?
Again, I had to go with 2. One was the first one I had was, I remember the one-handed Jordan Reed catch in the Saints game. Where he basically I mean, it was I think it was a 4th down play we're going for. He didn't make it, but let's be honest, that play was beautiful. I mean, one-handed, bent over, caught it.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, it didn't go for it. It doesn't count anything to big, wasn't big or anything for that game, but still good play. And then the other one was the George Kittle one-handed game, the last game of the season.
Yeah.
The one,
I was thinking about putting that one too.
It was like 40, I think it was 46 yards or something like that on that one.
That was a hell of a catch. And that ball was like right where it needed to be too. And that doesn't happen very often with CJ.
I forget who had him covered, but they had good coverage on him. So I mean, it's not like he was wide open or anything. He had good coverage.
Yeah.
That ball was about the only place in the world he could have caught it.
Anybody who questions, I said this on a show when it was the whole debate the tank top, and I said, look, in 1980, the biggest comeback in NFL season regular season history, In 1980, the comeback against the Aints, what people like to call the birth of the comeback kid, the birth of Joe Montana, at least in the NFL. That a lot of those players on that 80 team that went ahead and were on the 81 team talked about how the rest of their careers, they always knew that they were in a game because of that game. They just always knew it. And so I think anybody that questioned George Kittle playing, like it's just that man is an animal. Like I just every time I watch George Kittle, I run out of words to describe how great that man really is. His mentality.
I'm just glad we drafted him and got him. It was a steal.
It's just his mentality. He is everything that you want a football player to be.
Mm-hmm.
He is grab you by your face mask and follow me or else.
Mm-hmm.
And in a day where that's slowly starting to fade away from the game, it's good to see George Kittle. Any day that you could watch George Kittle on a football field, regardless of whether the game matters, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, like George Kittle there's a reason we have the Kittle Corn MVP of the week. I'll just leave it at that. Defensive play of the year, I have to go Javon Kinlaw's pick six. I mean, I believed it was Ray McDonald, and I want to say it had been at least 2003, the last time a Niner rookie defensive lineman had a pick six. And if you can't say that impacts the game, if that didn't change the game, if that didn't matter, I mean, like that was, to me, it's hard to point out plays in a season that, that was a lot different than last year. But when I close my eyes and somebody asks me about the 2020 season, that's one of the plays that's gonna pop up in my head.
Yeah.
And when they put together the Javon Kinlaw highlight tape at the end of his career, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the first clip that they show.
Yeah.
Jamie, your defensive play of the year.
My defensive play of the year is going to be Verrett's interception in the end zone in the middle of the season. I mean, it's an obvious one, but it was just so good. Yeah. And I was just like, okay. I was like, he's got his juice back. He's coming back, and I got really excited. And it was just a good play, and he just did what he needed to do. So,
and the thing I loved most about that play was it rewarded the football nerds. It rewarded the player who's not just, hey, I'm an athlete, I'm going to line up and I'm going to do my thing. Verrett talked about how that was film study. That was extra film study that caused him to make that play. And that, as somebody who, when I was younger, inspired to be a youth football coach, that's the type of play that you circle and you say, this is why you watch film.
Yeah.
This is why you spend an extra 4 hours every day after practice watching film, so you can make plays like that. That's what gets you second contracts. That's what makes you stick around in the league. That's what gets you Pro Bowls. It is plays like that, and that came strictly from film study, and that's what I loved most about that play. Jason, your defensive play of the year?
3 for 3 or 2 for 3. I had the Vernett one too.
Yeah.
That was a difficult one.
Yeah,
because
I think
if you go for highlights, it was either that or Kinlaw, or the only other one maybe the Sherman pick six. And the one game that he came back, there was that option too. But like you said, with Vernett, that came at a swing point in the season, because we could have been in or out at that point in that game. And that's the way they played that game. We were down, or they were up at that point, 21-9. So the Rams score there. And they had all
game-changing play.
Yeah, it was. It swung the momentum back to us too, and everything. It was a really big play in that whole game.
So and I think we'll get into this in more detail when I say, what did we learn about the San Francisco 49ers in 2020? But I think that what that showed is Adam and I came into the preview show saying, hey, this is the season right here. And we said that many times this year. And the fact that we came out and fought and played the Yams the way that we did, showed me ultimately what I think that everybody should learn from the 49ers is we won't quit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that game, that play, that game showed that regardless, this team is going to fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you win some, you lose some, but I will always ride with my team in any fight, knowing my team won't quit. I'll always ride with them. You know, and that I think that's as somebody who's had a very low level football career. I remember my coach telling me is all I could ever ask of you is to give your best, to fight. You know, if we're gonna get our asses handed to us, then make them earn it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You might get your tooth knocked out, or you might get two tooth knocked out, but make sure you knock out one. Type of situation. And I think that's culture. That's why you ask, hey, why was it important that we won those games at end of 2018? Why was it important that Jimmy came in and won 5 games in a row? Our draft status. Well, that's the reason why that matters. You feel me? You can't have Dre Greenlaw making the clinch by an inch without players fighting at the end of 2018 for every win, for making them earn every yard.
Yeah.
You can't. It's not an on and off switch. You can't just half-ass playing football. You have to be either 100% in or 100% out, and things like that really do matter. Last one of the team awards. We'll do a surprise player of the year. I'm gonna go ahead and go Kerry Hyder. When we signed Kerry Hyder, I personally no, and I know this is. It's funny, but no, I tip my hat to Kerry Hyder. Anybody
that's
who
who I
listens to the
put
show
too.
knows. Yeah, anybody who listens to the show knows I'm a huge Super Blair fan. And let's be real, Kerry Hyder was signed basically, essentially as Ronnie Blair assurance.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, cool, a little role player, whatever. And I remember after the show, after when Nick Bosa went down and we did the review show, I said, well, let's see what Kerry Hyder has got. And I remember he got a sack in the Giants game, and he did the Bosa shrug.
Mm-hmm.
And I told people, if I would have told you Nick Bosa would have had 8.5 sacks this year, you would have believed that. I think a lot of people would have said, okay, maybe slightly disappointed. Maybe you would expect more from Nick Bosa, but I think it was realistic to think Nick Bosa would have had 8.5 sacks. Now, what's the difference to me between Kerry Hyder and Nick Bosa is Nick Bosa is going to make the tackles for loss, the picks, the running back, all the way across the field, 20 yards down from where the play started. Nick Bosa, that's the type of plays Nick Bosa makes. There's a difference, but I think the reason we said it about Jason Verrett, but as a team that's built on our defensive line, I feel the biggest reason that we didn't lose anything we lost things, but the defense overall didn't lose anything was because of Kerry Hyder. Obviously, he wasn't out there making Nick Bosa plays, but those 8.5 sacks mattered. And we'll get into it later in the offseason, but I think Kerry Hyder's made Ronnie Blair expendable.
Yeah,
expendable. Jason, your surprise player of the year?
Glynchy.
Okay.
I was going to say this could be good or bad. Yeah, go ahead.
It's amazing that he is a top 3 rated running tackle in the league, but then
number
he
2,
is bottom 3 pass block. I mean, and I know the offensive it's run oriented and everything like that, but I want to see. And again, this goes to the off season show for later. But is it all on him, or is that tackle next to him that week, game in, game out?
Because I was just gonna say. I think what we saw a little bit is. I'll put it to you this way: when you look at the left side, do I believe Laken Tomlinson is as good as he played this year? No. Laken Tomlinson
Trent
to me
made him look how good Trent made him look.
Exactly. So maybe the right guard made McGlinchey look as bad. And I think what's not talked about Mike McGlinchey a lot is that losing Joe Staley was big. Yeah. And also what's not talked about is, okay, if you're a defensive coordinator, are you going to put your top edge rusher against Trent Williams, or are you going to put your top edge rusher against Mike McGlinchey?
Well, you're always going on that side.
Okay, so if you're facing the best of the best of the best of the best every week, yeah, you're probably going to have a couple bad plays yourself. You know, yeah. I think that, not to excuse Mike McGlinchey, look, he had a bad season. I mean, how many times did I come on the review show? You know, I think that the reason we're going to keep him is who are we going to get this better? You know, franchise right tackles. Yeah, franchise right tackles don't just become available. Mm-hmm. You know, every offensive league wide is down. You know, this ain't the 90s, you know, when you have the Cry Girls O-line and our O-line. You know, this is not this ain't the 90s where, you know, you have the Hogs and the Cry Girls and our O-line. You know, this isn't the 90s. But I'm excited about Mike McGlinchey this year because, okay, Mike, you know, we all know you're Matt Ryan's cousin and you're a CEO type of player. Look, you had a bad year. Now, how do you bounce back? Mm-hmm. Show me, Mike. You know, I believe in Mike McGlinchey. Do I believe he's as bad as he played this year? No, I don't. I think there are many factors that went into that. Yeah.
All the highlights he
definitely. No, they definitely did. And I'm glad because you know what? You know what I hope it does? I hope it fuels him. I hope he watches those lowlights every single day this offseason because I hope it fires him up and it motivates him. And he himself, as a professional athlete and as a man, looks himself in the mirror and says, I cannot put that on film. I cannot be that bad. As a professional athlete, as a man, as a prideful person, I cannot put that on tape again. And I expect it to motivate Mike McGlinchey. It would not be surprised if Mike McGlinchey had the best year of his career next year. And I have heard rumors that maybe a certain retired Niner might come back and have maybe an assistant offensive line coach role. And I think that might be a positive for McGlinchey. Look, let's put it this. I'll be very blunt about it. There's rumors that Joe Staley is going to come back and basically be a Mike McGlinchey psychiatrist. Like, you know, there's rumors of that floating around. Whether it happens or not, you know, that's neither here nor, you know, we'll see going forward. But I like the fact that you did bring that up, Jason, because I feel that needs to be discussed. And I feel that if we had a worst player of the year category, Mike McGlinchey would probably be all three of us, either McGlinchey or Sherm. Last one, we're going to go ahead and go into reasons for hope of 2021. And I'm going to say it very simply. Yeah, you know that number 97 last year that won Defense of the Year, that was, you know, making plays and had a whole entire stadium chanting his name? Yeah, that dude, we get to get that dude back next year. And I think he's going to be motivated. I think that he's heard the is he injury prone and all that talk. And I think, look, if what we saw from Nick Bosa his rookie year was a non-motivated Nick Bosa, if we could get a more motivated Bosa than we did his rookie year, man, I hate to be an offensive tackle. I hate to be an offensive tackle that plays the Niners next year because you're going to get embarrassed.
Yeah.
Jamie, your reason for hope next season?
Honestly, kind of in the same vein, just the team getting healthy, all the players we lost coming back, getting healthy. I know there's a lot of uncertainty coming this year because we have a lot of free agents we got to re-sign. We might be losing some coaches. So there is that aspect, but I think just getting the players we have that were injured back is a big deal. And like, because if you look at all the players that got injured, It's ridiculous. It really, really is. Like you can almost make a whole other
more to
lineup
your
with
point.
it. So
to your point, Jamie, these are the players that were out versus the Sheacocks. Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel, Raheem Mostert, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, Richard Sherman, Javon Kinlaw, Jimmy Ward, who I actually did play, but I had him as out. Jordan Willis, K'Wan Williams, Kevin Givens, DeMarcus Ocha, Dre Greenlaw, and Robbie Gould. If I told you to list our best players, how many of those players that I just list would be on that list? That's a freaking Pro Bowl
like
roster right there.
80% of them. 80 to 90%. It's ridiculous. So that's my big thing. So, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, if I told you that the Niners were as free agent signings, we're gonna sign Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel, Raheem Mostert, Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Dre Greenlaw, Robbie Gould, Richard Sherman, and Javon Kinlaw, I think that would be probably one of the greatest free agency periods in Niner history. And that's essentially all the players we get to add to our roster next year. Obviously, some of those are free agents, but your point is very valid. Jason, your reason for hope next year?
I think we're beating a dead horse when we talk about injuries. I mean, what else are we going to say?
I know.
We put out a JV
that
team.
That was the story of the season. It's just all the injuries.
We put a JV team out there, 13 out of 16 games for the most part?
Yeah.
You know, what else can we say?
So throughout, walking around in the Bay Area this year, I live in South San Jose. So, obviously around a lot of the faithful and I'm usually wearing my Niner jacket. So, a lot of people have came up to me and, talked to me about the season. And I said, look, it gets to a point where you look at I'll never forget this. When we lost to the Giants in 2018, I remember looking at the field and I said, if I told you that if I remained my faithfulness and said you have a football team that had Eli Manning, Odell Beckham, and Saquon Barkley versus Nick Mullins, Matt Breida, and Marquise Goodwin, who do you think is going to win that game? It's the same thing. I said, look, I just watched my team in the Super Bowl in February, but it gets to a point where that team you're watching on the field no longer is that team that we saw in the Super Bowl. And that's just simply what it reached this year. And so, I think the main reason for hope is that we saw a competitive team. Look, let's be real. The Niners were competitive in games this year we had no business being competitive in.
Yep.
None whatsoever. We had no business almost beating the Aints this year. None. No business. We had no business being competitive in that Crygirls game as long as we were. None whatsoever.
And
so I think, as three people who are going to be here next year, I think the reason we should all have hope, and I hope everybody out there will be back next year, the reason we should have hope is very simple. The losing days are over. We are back. Obviously that doesn't mean we're going to win the Super Bowl every year or whatever, but we are a good football team.
Yeah.
We are.
Foundation's there.
And the foundation is absolutely, totally there. And the core of this team, the Fred Warners, the Nick Bosas, the George Kittles, the Raheem Mosterts, the Javon Kinlaw, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo, these players are young, hungry, and they're all under contract.
Yep.
We are going to be good for a long time. Unfortunately, injuries just bit us in the ass.
Yep.
And I hate to say this and knock on wood and all that, but I mean, you can't set a record for injuries in an NFL season 2 years in a row, can you? Like eventually, it's kind of like in 2018. We got so little turnovers that by just pure odds, we had to get so many turnovers in 2019.
Yep.
We had so many injuries this year that by pure statistics, we should be one of the least injured teams next year. I mean, I would think. And I don't even think it was the injuries.
Hopefully.
It was the amount of injuries. And it was the fact that
that's what it
we
is.
lost Nick Bosa,
The
Calvin
amount,
Thomas, Raheem Mostert, Jimmy Garoppolo, all in the same game. It wasn't spread out over the season.
Yep.
And so I think by sheer luck, we're gonna luck back here have better injury luck next year.
Put it this
last
way.
thing we're gonna go.
People know that I live up here in Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
With the Seahawks and everything like that. My Seahawk friends are like, we can't even talk trash because it's not even fair. We're playing a high school team at this point, damn near.
Yeah.
Damn near got beat.
Yeah. They're like, and most, like I said, for those who don't know, there's a difference between 12s and Hawk fans. My friends are Hawk fans. They're actual football fans. 12s are the idiots.
Okay.
But
yeah, I'll agree to that. I'll agree to that.
They admit, they're like, you guys at full strength would have destroyed us. The only thing keeping them afloat, take Russell Wilson off that team.
Oh.
Take Bobby Wagner off that team.
And let's be realistic. Russell Wilson didn't play that great.
Well, he doesn't have that much around him. Besides Metcalf, he ain't got much.
But I will fully agree with you that yes, take Russell Wilson off that team, and I'll put it to you this way: we'll take away the Seahawks' best pass rusher, their best running back, their quarterback, their two best receivers, their left tackle. All the players that we were without on Sunday, and we blow them out of the water. It's not even a contest. I'm
in a trash talking group on Facebook, and I was like, "You take all of them out right now. We'll see what's up. I will take my second and third strings, and we will whoop your second and third strings ass."
Oh it wouldn't even be close. I'm putting my life savings on the Niners in that game.
Yeah. Okay. So the backups, we got this.
Yeah. Most definitely. It was the fourth preseason game out there. Let's be realistic. We literally had a kicker that was lining up for his first NFL field goal attempt. Like,
oh my God.
Let's be real here.
Half so who is this guy?
Are we going to talk about Jimmy?
Yes, I was just going to say we're going to transition into our segment, our off-season little preview segment. Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, we'll get into the free agents that we bring back, but I feel that the least obvious answer going into the offseason is what to do about our quarterbacks. And I think that we all kind of three have a little bit of different opinions. Everybody who listens to the show knows I'm a huge Jimmy Garoppolo supporter. Jimmy is our king. He will win us our sixth ring. And on that day, even his haters will sing Jimmy is king. I am a full believer in Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, I will admit this. Jimmy Garoppolo needs to be pushed. We cannot walk in with our backup quarterbacks being Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard next year. That just can't happen. We cannot rely on Jimmy playing 16 games. Is he injury prone? Every football player is injury prone. If you put any quarterback behind that offensive line, and by the way, on a illegal hit, the original injury happened because let's be there. It was a jailbreak on Jimmy, and it was an illegal hit.
Yeah.
I think if any player did what Jimmy did to tear his ACLs, I think most players tear their ACLs right there. Plenty of quarterbacks have shoulder injuries. Now, does that mean that Jimmy Garoppolo is impervious? No. Is Jimmy Garoppolo an elite quarterback? No. Are there upgrades to Jimmy Garoppolo? If you tell me, hey, I'll give you Matt Ryan for Jimmy Garoppolo for the next 3 seasons, shoot it. I'll take Matt Ryan right now. But I roll back Jimmy. I roll back Jimmy because what other options do we have? We are in a normal offseason where we have a normal amount of salary cap and don't have 40 free agents on our roster and all that. Okay, cool.
And the cap's going down.
And the cap's going down. So are you going to upgrade from Jimmy Garoppolo? Yes. Are you going to upgrade from Jimmy Garoppolo for a cheaper price? Probably not. And so when you tell me we have 40 free agents, and then you want to adding a quarterback to that list, not through the draft, I do believe that we will draft a quarterback. I don't believe it'll be with our first overall pick or our first pick. I do believe we're going to take one in the mid rounds, second, third, fourth round. But I see us. I won't steal your glory, Jason, because I think I know where you're going to go with this question. But do I see us adding a veteran backup? Yeah, I think that would be best. Jimmy needs to be pushed. There's no secret that Joe Montana had one of his best seasons of his career the year we traded for Steve Young. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Jason, go ahead. Give us your case for Jimmy or against Jimmy.
See, here's the thing with Jimmy is that I'm not completely against Jimmy. But like you just said, I do think he needs to be pushed. And this offense does not have to be Jimmy, the quarterback does not have to be elite in this offense.
No.
The offense will make him elite. You don't need an elite quarterback to be elite to lead this offense. You give me a healthy, decent quarterback. Because look at take Troy Aikman from the 90s. He was not a great quarterback. That offense made him great. And what were they for? They were a run-heavy offense. Yep. So you know who was open deep for all those balls? There you go. All you have to do is hit those deep balls, and you're good.
Exactly. That was Troy Aikman's career. I'm gonna hand it off to Emmitt Smith and throw it to Michael Irvin.
Yeah, that's all he had to do. And this offense works in the same way in that if you have someone who just doesn't make mistakes. Who with he looked at with the Saints game. Yeah, you want him to do good things be elite at times, but for the most part, you don't have to carry. Shanahan will go to he'll go to your strengths. Why the hell do you think we didn't pass in the playoffs? Look, Jimmy, we're gonna go just on our run game. Just don't fumble.
Yeah. And
yes, there are free agents. Yes, and you guys have seen stuff I've posted over and over and over. I post the Marcus Mariota thing once, he's Samoan, I'm Samoan, I like the guy, it's always. But I do think there's some validity behind doing something like that. Because look at that, he's pushing Derek Carr right now over in Las Vegas.
Or Vegas, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So, we need somebody veteran to push him. Now, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention today, but all the talk is on trading for what's his name? Watson. Which I don't think is going to happen.
That's yeah. Keep going. Sorry.
Well, you take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
What do we give up? Obviously Jimmy would have to be part of that trade, but
yeah.
Then we also have Rosen. What do we do with Rosen? Like I said, we can do a whole different show with this. So I don't know how deep you guys want to go with that right now, but I'm not completely against Jimmy. Him being brought back too early from the injury the first time is what completely derailed the season. And I know he was brought back because we were kind of like, we need you now, but that's also what destroyed the season at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and you know what's fun? And the very funny thing about it was I remember tweeting the Denim Dungeon podcast and saying, do we put Jimmy on short-term IR?
We should.
After the Miami game, I said, do we put Jimmy on short-term IR? And, I was kind of not laughed at it. They were very respectful and disagreed with me. But, looking back at hindsight, which, of course, hindsight is always 20/20, probably not a bad idea to sit him on the shelf for a couple weeks, right? And to me, look, what is the big knock that everybody has on Jimmy Garoppolo? He doesn't throw the deep.
He can't throw deep.
And this is what I told Jamie, and then we'll go ahead and let you give your 2 cents, Jamie. As I remember our discussion we had at some point this season where I looked at you and I said, okay, let's look at the 2 biggest throws that we had last season. The Emmanuel Sanders in New Orleans and the 3rd and 16 to Emmanuel Sanders against the Yale, the last one. He underthrew Emmanuel Sanders both of those times. Both of those plays should have been walk-in touchdowns. So what do you think Jimmy was told all practice? Don't overthrow him. 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 And so he gets to the Super Bowl. What do you think Kyle probably says in his ear? Hey, you hit him. Don't overthrow him. You hit him in stride. It's a walk-in touchdown. We're Super Bowl champions. You're MVP. So while Jimmy, look, you'll never be able to convince me that Jimmy G was not concussed in the Super Bowl.
No, the man, you could tell just by looking at his eyes, he was not there.
Yeah, the man was concussed in the Super Bowl. So you add that into the fact that all that was been put in his head was don't overthrow this man. And what are you going to do? You're going to overthrow him.
Mm-hmm.
So is Jimmy Garoppolo, Patrick Mahomes, and we're going to win all these Super Bowls because of our quarterback? No. But can Jimmy Garoppolo, if put in the same position in February of 2022, we're down by 4 points, 2 minutes left of the Super Bowl, and Brandon Ayuk is streaking wide open down the field. Can Jimmy Garoppolo hit that throw? Yes.
Yeah.
I believe Jimmy Garoppolo can hit that throw. Yeah. Can we win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo? Yes, because I believe Jimmy can hit that throw. So I think that's, the 2 cents about Jimmy. Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead and give your 2 cents.
Okay. So I've been thinking about this a lot this season, because my thing is I was kind of in the middle of the season after he got hurt and all that stuff and all his bad play. I was like, you know what, maybe it is time to move on. I was kind of getting to that point. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, Kyle's offense doesn't require the quarterback to throw deep that much. It really doesn't. Nope. It would be nice if he could. It'd be nice, but he doesn't. That's not a requirement for this offense. And like Jason said, Kyle just needs a quarterback to be able to efficiently run his system and to not like make mistakes like fumble the ball and stuff. And so I thought about that too. I don't know how to get it through people's head, but this kid tore his ACL in 2018, came back the next season, threw for almost 4,000 yards and led us to a Super Bowl. And he was 1 play away from winning. If he would have made that hit, there would not be this crap talk about him right now.
No, there would not.
Would it be nice to have a Deshaun Watson, a Patrick Mahomes on the team? Of course. That's the greatest thing in the world, because you don't have to worry about this stuff. But if we give Jimmy the supporting cast like I think we've gotten him, I think it's going to be good. And I think he deserves another year to do I think we draft somebody? Yes. Do I think we upgrade behind him? 100%. Because CJ and Nick are not the answer. No. So I'm just in the mindset where there's no way we're getting rid of Jimmy. There's not enough cap space. It's just going to be too complicated to get rid of him this offseason. He stays, he starts, we draft somebody, and we sign another veteran. And then hopefully those are upgrades behind him. And then we just hope that he stays healthy next year, because as we saw with the healthy Jimmy, who plays all 16 games, we go to the playoffs, he runs the system, we get to the Super Bowl. That's just what it is. And look, the Deshaun Watson thing is interesting to me, because it would be nice, but we also would have to be like, he is going to be year one in Kyle's offense too. And we understand that Kyle's offense is very difficult to understand. So he's not going to come in and be the Deshaun Watson that he has been like in Texas. So it's interesting. We
don't give up way too much.
That's the other thing too. Is I wouldn't feel comfortable.
And he doesn't, and they don't do that trade without also doing an extension. Look, you're not trading for Deshaun. If we're trading for a quarterback, a young quarterback, a Deshaun Watson, obviously not going to happen, but a Patrick Mahomes, whatever. And I think that Jason brought up an interesting point. And this is my interesting point that I say is coaches have egos, and coaches always believe I can fix them. That's just coaches.
Yeah.
So would you? And Kyle's notorious for not wanting to work for young quarterbacks. Why? Because Kyle's not very patient.
Mm.
And I agree with that. I'm not a very patient man myself either. So, which is funny because I've been waiting for a team to win a championship for 26 years. But go figure. So my thing about this is, what if I told you that we had a quarterback on our roster that was a top 10 pick 2 seasons ago, is young, can be signed for cheap, and can have I'm not going to say a better chance, but have just as much chance of turning out to be a franchise guy than a quarterback we could bring in through this draft. And his name is Josh Rosen. Now, am I a believer that Josh Rosen? Do I believe that Josh Rosen is a franchise quarterback just waiting to be untapped? No, I don't. But
the kid hasn't gotten a break, so
exactly. And so, do I believe
24?
I know.
Yeah, and so exactly. And so, do I believe if we go in and let's say we draft a quarterback 3rd round?
Okay.
And Kyle comes in next year and says, our starter is Jimmy Garoppolo, our backup is Josh Rosen, and we have Zach Wilson or Mac Jones or whoever. Zach Wilson probably wouldn't be because Zach Wilson's coming in and being a backup.
He would start.
Yeah, okay, Mac Jones. Kyle Trask, which go Gators. I'd be totally down with Kyle Trask. Go Gators. But as our 3rd developmental quarterback. Yeah, that would make – I could totally see the Niners doing that. And you know what? I wouldn't be mad at that.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be mad. I would not, because what could I say? Could you argue that Josh Rosen's an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo? No, not now.
Not yet.
But he
was drafted in the first round, but we know he has talent. Because no quarterback gets drafted in the first round. He has talent.
Without talent.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like,
and I think,
yeah.
And Jason brought up a good point. As you know, Jamie, you're kind of going, you're still pretty young yourself, but I think about to when I was 24, and I was about to be a dad. And Jason, I'm pretty sure you could think about what you're 24, or 22, or 23, or 20, and how life kicks you in the ass. Life humbles you. Is Josh Rosen a spoiled rich brat? Yeah, probably. I believe so.
He was coming out of
college. Once you kind of realize, but once you realize, hey, guess what? That really doesn't matter in the NFL. You're not, this ain't Pop Warner where your daddy paid for all the kids' equipment, so you're going to start no matter what. This is the NFL. This is the big boys. And so the fact that you're a spoiled rich kid doesn't matter to us. And, the fact that he's told no and sit your ass down and, you don't know shit and all the things that he's probably told, it might have humbled him. It might have allowed him to mature.
You're not our future. He's a 1st-round draft pick, and 2 teams told him, nope, we don't really want you. You're only here to hold a place till the draft.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think one of the most underrated things that Jim Harbaugh did for Alex Smith is, you know what he did? He said, I believe in you, Alex.
Yep, that's what I've been thinking lately.
You're our guy. You're the one. And when was the last coach? Look, I will never forget this, and I guarantee you if I brought my baby mama on air, she would say the same thing. And that the famous We Want Car game. I read Mike Singletary's lips. He told Alex Smith, you will not be here next year. And what did Harbaugh do? and he did. And hey, we want, hey, Alex, you're our guy. So you know what? Josh Rosen, having Kyle Shanahan go to you, say, hey, Josh, I think I can work with you. I think we can pick you up. Hey, I believe in you, Josh.
I believe in you. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. And so, and also I think a lot of people fall in love of having a quarterback that you don't got to worry about. Look, are the Packers moving on from Aaron Rodgers this year? No. Are apparently the Texans might move on from Deshaun Watson? Yeah, well, because they're stupid enough to trade to fucking Hopkins.
Hopkins for
So yeah, sure, yeah, they're probably stupid enough to trade to Deshaun Watson.
That was what's
it's like the same thing I told Jamie.
That was O'Brien.
Yeah, he's not there. So.
But Watson wants out because the organization traded Hopkins, and he doesn't have a reliable target now.
Yeah.
So it's I feel
it's the same reason Barry Sanders retired.
Yep.
Barry Sanders retired because he said, "I'm tired of losing." And so, yeah, that happens a lot. So,
Calvin Johnson.
I think that the Jim Calvin Johnson, perfect example. Calvin Johnson, Steve Young. Bill Walsh told Steve, "Hey, look." Basically, he told him, "We're rebuilding. Don't come back. Don't risk your life. If you get one more concussion, you might die. Don't risk your life for a rebuilding team." So, what did Steve Young do? He retired. There was discussions of him going to Denver, but he said, "Nah, you know what? I'd rather hang him up as a Niner." And, lo and behold, I think that he made the right decision. So, okay, last thing, and before we go ahead and give our little outro and things like that, what have we learned about the San Francisco 49ers in 2020? I think that we have learned that Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch know what the fuck they're doing. I think that if we look at 2017, was the 2017 draft saved by George Kittle? Yes.
Yeah.
Was Reuben Foster and Solomon Thomas first round picks? No. Should we have taken Derwin James it's so easy to say that, there's it's so easy to say that it would have been easy to take Patrick Mahomes at number 2. But guess what? You know how many teams say that they should have took Tom Brady? 31. And you know what Bill Belichick said? Hey, we're not that damn smart either, because if we were that smart, we wouldn't have waited to the 7th round to take him. Sorry, 6th round. Sorry, 6th round. So, but has Lynch and Hand gotten better at their jobs? Yes. And I've learned that this football team, when you see Kyle Juszczyk basically start to cry over the idea that he might no longer be a Niner, when you see Jimmy Ward admit that he took less money to stay here, these things matter. And it's because of the culture. It's because I do believe it has to do a little bit with the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't hurt that it's, mid-January and probably 70 degrees. That doesn't hurt either. But so I learned that the San Francisco 49ers are here to stay. I learned that it might not be Super Bowl or bust every year, that's fine, but the days of my team rolling out the helmets to get it over with and going 2-14, those days are over. And I believe as long as Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, or mostly Kyle Shanahan, are a part of this organization, I believe the losing days are behind us. Jamie, what did you learn about the San Francisco 49ers in 2020?
I learned that the team is resilient and they don't give up, and that that Kyle Shanahan is a hell of a coach and can make anybody really look good in his system. I've really been learning that over the last few years, but that's something that really stood out to me this year with all the injuries.
Yes.
And that the people we have in charge now just know what they're doing. And we're not in that Jim Tomsula, Chip Kelly era anymore. We're in a better era. I know. So
I just got chills when you said that, dude. Jason?
Thanks for bringing the Jim Tomsula. I need a drink now.
Yeah. Jimmy Tomsula. Tomsula.
I wouldn't want to fight this team for that personality. You got to fight with this team. They're scrappy. They're biting. They're scratching. They're doing anything, and that's what they play football. Like, they know they can't whip you head up, but they will do everything else to beat you.
Yeah.
That's how the team is right now. They're just scrappy. That's what it is. What it comes down to, and that's what the guys below. Now those guys next year are going to push all the starters to get even better, and they're going to get better because the guys who were playing this year, like, you know what, I was good enough to start last year, so let's see how good you are because you're going to have to outplay me now.
Yeah.
So it's just going to get,
One of the great
old saying is steel or iron sharpens iron kind of thing,
Tired? Yeah, exactly.
So
I
they're going to
think
get better.
one of the main factors of why Frank Gore is great is because his first day in minicamp, he walked up to Kevin Barlow and said, "I'm here to take your job." So you think that Kerry Hyder is just going to hand over his job to whatever edge rusher we bring in next year? Yeah, sure. Here, Mr. First Round pick, come take my job. No. You think, Mosley or Jason Verrett or no, Al-Shaair? You think Al-Shaair is just going to hand his job over next year? No. You're going to have to take it. And you know what that makes is when Steve, yes, I know I always tie everything in Niner history, but that's because it is important. When Steve talked about why he believed he brought him in, and he said he remembered his first practice at the facility, Joe Montana looked amazing. When Bill brought in Steve, he said, "Look, Steve, he's had his second back surgery, and he will not recover." And Steve Young said he stepped on the field, and Joe Montana looked great.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at Bill Walsh, and Bill Walsh said, "What do you want me to do?" And the reason he said that, he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I think Bill sat in his office, and you know what I think he said? I'm going to do this because you know what? You know what it's going to get me? It's going to get me the best out of Joe Montana, and it's going to get me the best out of Steve Young." And he was talking about when Bill Walsh went out and said, "We have a quarterback controversy." And he said, "You know what? In his own sick, twisted way, I'll be damned if he wasn't right." And so, you know what? Having Kerry Hyder get, be our starter this year and get 8.5 sacks, you know what that's going to do? It's going to make Nick Bosa better.
Yep.
Nick Bosa's going to say, "Hey, look, I better step up. Oh, shit, they might have forgot about me. Oh, they forgot about me. They forgot about Nick, huh?" Big shout outs. Get well soon, Dr. Dre. I know he's in the hospital with the brain aneurysm. So a big shout out to Forgot About Dre. Get well, Dr. Dre. But so I think that we all came away with the great theme is, look, this team, it's the age-old saying. If you chop out my arms, I'm going to kick you to death. If you chop off my legs, I'm going to bite you to death. And it's just that. Like, you just can't stop this team. They're going to, if you take away their legs, they're going to claw you to death. If you take away their arms, they're going to bite you to death. You're going to have to kill this team. This team will not die. We're the Michael Myers of the NFL. We just will never die. So definitely. So before we get out of here, I would like to say a special thank you to Kim, Jamie, Jason, Jimmy, and Nate. Thank y'all so much. Niner Faithful Radio would not be possible without y'all. Thank you so much, Jason. You do a great job with the halftime and the running of the Facebook page. Jamie, girl,
I'm not getting banned.
Exactly, when you're not getting banned. Jamie, girl, what you did with Niner Empire, Good Morning Niner Empire. I mean, what do I tell you all the time? That's the reason you're all pro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kim, everything you've done, Jimmy, Nate, I appreciate every one of y'all. Thank y'all for an amazing season. And honestly, you know what? Waiting for Nick Bosa. The most thing I'm excited for is see what Niner Faithful Radio can accomplish next season. And it's because of y'all. Thank you so much to all our fans, all the fam, all the faithful. We appreciate every one of you. We appreciate all y'all support. If you would like to, we do not get paid for what we do, but well, I do, but very little. But if you would like to support Jamie and Jason and the great work you do, make sure to use their promo codes, and you can save 10% on all our non-affiliate gear at NinerFaithfulRadio.com/shop. That would be the promo code Jamie for Jamie and Jason for Jason. And make sure that you can either contact me or Kim Fedricks on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or Gmail at NinerFaithfulRadio ninerfaithfulradio.com or ninerfaithfulradio@gmail.com. Send us some articles. We are really looking for passionate. I mean, if you're going to half-ass these articles, if you're going to come up with excuses, Jamie and Jason, especially Jamie, will tell you, I'm not an excuse type of person. I let you do whatever the hell you got to do, but I expect that article or that show or whatever to be ready. So if you're passionate and want to get into sports writing, go ahead and contact us. We are definitely looking to hire people. We shall switch into our off-season mode, so we don't know exactly what that entails yet. We're figuring that out, but we appreciate everybody sticking through us through this rough season. We shall see everybody next year. Make sure to follow. Jamie, go ahead and give everybody your Twitter.
My Twitter is at 49ersfan94. That's my Twitter, and that's where you guys can follow me.
Okay, Jason, where can the faithful follow you?
I'm just on Facebook. I have a Twitter. I hardly ever use it. But I mean, if you guys start hitting me up on it, I'll start using it. It's the Angry Faithful on Twitter.
Okay, so make sure to follow Angry Faithful. We want Jason on Twitter. So for Super Duper Moderator Kim, Jimmy, Nate, Jamie, Jason, and myself, we'd like to thank you for tuning into our review show. We shall see y'all next season, or well, whenever we decide to do the next show. Please always remember, San Francisco 49ers don't always have a losing season, but whenever you do, we're still the best team in NFL history. Stay faithful, my friends. Go Niners.
Bye.
Thank y'all.